The double pandemic of COVID-19 and the global protests to dismantle racism and police brutality have forced us all to rethink, redefine, and in some cases, reinvent our lives and livelihood.
I'm Darlene Jackson, and I'm excited to be the new board president of Collaboration. My vision as a leader is to increase Collaboration's impact on the culture of equity and inclusion in Chicago, and to use theater as a tool to build a new future for our city.
It's just a really important time in our country for us to all recognize that systemic racism impacts everyone.
Chicago, our city, is a big inspiration. I'm finding that my life's work is the stories of our city.
I think the one thing we certainly do have in common is that we're trying to introduce a narrative in a time where dialogue has really become next to impossible to have.
With our fists raised, not fighting, but promising the truth of that Constitution and that Declaration.
What's an apology if you keep your ideology, selfish psychology?
It's so easy to say, go get a citizenship, but it's so hard to actually get it.
How do you feel about the fact that your ancestors used to own my ancestors?
What?
Emmett Till, Trayvon Martin, Laquan McDonald, Sandra Bland, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd. I can't breathe.
My point is the fact that you're actually here. You're present in this conversation.
Yes.
And you're taking action.
We're signing off for the opening night of the 5th annual Peace Book. These pieces are now into the world. Let's enjoy them. Let's share them. Let's talk about what these artists have stirred up.
So we can bless you some more and send you out with a stronger back. Blackbird, black man, blackbird, black man.
Did you know about me? I didn't. Not completely.
I'm a daisy machine, and I'm after Down syndrome, if that won't stop me.
This past April, precisely on April 18th, I was diagnosed with COVID and I had severe symptoms.
A whole lot of RIPs. This is Lawndale. Just when we all gonna see that we from Lawndale. Way we living just can't be, man. I look just like you when you look just like me.
Learn to shout on top of your lung. Make a scene. Be the troublemaker. Be the trouble.
You can actually feel each of us as we come together, belonging to one another in a house of belonging we call Collaboration.
Are we crucially connected? I believe we have liftoff. Houston, I'm looking for one Dr. Marcus Robinson. I believe he's in a spaceship about 7 miles south of me. Do we have contact?
We have contact. Yes, we do. We are here.
We are doing it one more time. I'm between joy and love here.
You know what? Must be some happiness in there.
You got good vibes too, my friend.
Yes.
Yeah, let's take a nice deep inhale. And we got a great show for you tonight. Welcome to season 2, episode 7, our 17th episode, our lucky 17th of Crucial Connections, Collaboration's hyperlocal, thinking global online space, and exploring our intersectionality so that we can dismantle oppression of all forms and lift each other up.
Yes. So Zoom guests can join us here live. So hello, everybody. And share your thoughts and questions. So sign up in advance if those of you who are listening to us now on Facebook Live, or you can simply watch the live stream on Facebook Live and YouTube, and you can subscribe to the Together Network for only $5 a month. I got 5 on it.
Put 5 on it. If you get really fired up and you're on Facebook or YouTube, you can jump over to the Zoom and say, hey, let me on the screen. I want to talk to Carla Stillwell. And we'll make room for you here. This programming on Collaboration's Together Network is made possible by the support of our sponsors, AV Chicago. And if you haven't heard, Collaboration has kind of moved into AV Chicago with a digital media residency. I snuck in there today to get the step and repeat. I'm going to iron it tonight, Marcus, so that it's wrinkle free for tomorrow. The Mark and Jeannie Malnati Family Foundation, where would we be without great pizza and the love and support of the Malnati Family Foundation? Just happens so that they have great pizza. That's just a coincidence. They are amazing supporters of ours, as are the Joseph and Bessie Feinberg Foundation, and people like you watching wherever right now or in the future. You can make a one-time donation at collaboration.org. While you're there, learn more about us, go to YouTube, check out the Peacebook videos and the light videos and past episodes of Crucial Connections, and then become a monthly contributor.
Yeah. Well, the future is now here. And tonight's show, we'll explore the possibilities that lay ahead and what it will take for us as a country, as a city, as an organization, and as individuals to manifest them in this new era of progressive leadership that's leaning progressive now. And we're all on this journey. We're kind of making it through this winter of peril. We find ourselves feeling a little more optimistic, but I'm also a bit sober about the reality of our time. Last summer's discontent was no joke. The underlying issues that were driving that, real, true, must get handled. This enduring pandemics of state violence against Black and brown bodies, opioid crisis ravaging white folk, brown folk, Black folk all over the country in red and blue spaces, and this COVID-19 thing is exposing all of the disparities that America has been pushing to the side. So now it's time now we can see them, let's clean them up. And so we want to have a conversation tonight with 2 of our special guests that will help us kind of look and see what this is all about, because that disparity in health, with all the people, dying 1 and 2 and 3 times more than their white counterparts, education. Oh my God. Have you tried to do a Zoom thing with your kid and still get your work done and still, keep the house safe from COVID? And oh, by the way, got to go out and work because that's what I do. Being an essential worker being brown and Black. Now that has that rhymes with the essential workers that built the railroad, the White House, and all that other stuff in the 19th century. You hear me now? They're kind of connecting there. So it's all too familiar. So we're going to open our time together tonight with a piece from our Peacebook Festival, from our Essentials collection, a Brother Blackbird by Vernon D. Gooden, a part of, again, the Collaboration's 5th annual Peacebook Festival. Focus your attention, keep your eyes, and enjoy this moment.
Brother Blackbird? Brother Blackbird? I see you. I know it hurts. You've spent your whole life trying to break out of cages. You've been stuffed inside them so long, they become your sanctuary. But freedom? Freedom is your birthright, Blackbird. Hey, brother Blackbird! Remember how the kids used to point at you and say, "That's my favorite bird"? Despite your wings being broken on the ground, they said you, Brother Blackbird, were their favorite. God dwells in the center of your hands, Blackbird. Etched in your palms, swinging from coffee-colored lifelines, it is the prayer that saved you from killing yourself or someone else 1,000 times over. You are solar. Onyx crystals grow from your shoulders, Blackbird. When you stretch, mountains blush. Your wings drum the earth. Your dance is contagious. You fly, riding laughter and disaster like oil stretched across a magenta sky. Pain no longer dangles like earthworms from your mouth. Your beak has been blessed, anointed from the dirty south. Dirty South, ayy, dirty South, ayy, dirty South, ayy. May the wind carry you to more peace. May the air collect your missing pieces and bring you back home, whole, feathers intact, so we can bless you some more and send you out with a stronger back, Blackbird, black man, Blackbird, black man. God dwells in the center of your hands, etched in your palms, swinging from coffee-colored lifelines. You are the prayer that saves.
Blackbird. Blackbird by Vernon D. Gooden, a part of Collaboraction's 5th annual Peace Book. You have a link in your chat. Please, check that out, save that, share it with friends, and then sit back and join us tonight here for this special edition of Crucial Connections to bring their wisdom and insight and sober encouragement. Is Miss Carla Stillwell, the founder and executive director of the Stillwell Institute for Contemporary Black Art. Yes, you'll see her information in the chat. And she is also the co-creator and playwright of Collaboraction's play turned digital media, Red Island, which will be in production this spring. Joining her and us on this special occasion will be Dr. Chico Tillmon. Dr. Tillmon is the Director of Research and Evaluation for TASC, TASC, Senior Advisor for Community Justice Action Fund, and the former Executive Director of the YMCA of Metro Chicago's Youth Safety and Violence Prevention Programs, and an amazing collaborator in all those spaces across the country, seeking justice, equity, and real inclusion in our society. So let's bring our guest up and on, and let us get this this dialogue off and started. And I open with a simple question. All right, we had the riot at the Capitol. We've had the conversion experience in Kumbaya on the same damn steps, right? We have our people that are progressive minded, at least, if not actually progressive, certainly progressive minded, leaning into the transformation that's possible for the United States. And yet, we still got the same country and the same work that we were all struggling with before we could spell COVID-19 or even TRUMP. So I'd like you both to take a turn. Carla, start, and Dr. Tillmon, you back clean up for us. Okay, just give us your sensibilities about how it is we arrived here in the last year, where this place is right now, and what you're looking at, what's important to you right now. So we're just trying to get trued up on how we got here and where we're at. And I'm serious on it. You can get funny with me too, Carla. So I'm always.
Listen. Listen. So I think, there are activists and people that do the work on the ground that see things from a very practical place, but I am an artist and an armchair historian, and I believe I am the resident philosopher for the world. This is what I've decided for myself. So I feel like my job is always to try to thread the needle. And when we talk about how we got here because, well, hashtag slavery. But after that, some things happened. They were all horrible, terrible. Then there was a war. And after this war and emancipation, there was a period called Reconstruction. And between 1865 and 1877, the country couldn't figure itself out because the losers were still upset that they couldn't sell people. So the Republican Party, who was the Democratic Party of the day, decided that they would just soothe the savage beast, give them a little breadcrumb to make them feel comfortable in this United States. So they traded the presidency for the freedoms of the people who were recently liberated. There was a compromise. Because of that compromise, white extremists, racist terrorists were emboldened to enact Jim Crow laws and to further oppress and suppress peoples of color the Native American community. The Trail of Tears happened after this. All of this stuff happened at the same time. And because there was a request and a quest for unity without accountability in 1877, here we sit today with white folks mad because another man lost his job, but they really mad because racism is a Ponzi scheme. It's the greatest pyramid scheme of all time, sold to white people. And it's like selling Avon, right? I'm going to tell you, this is an exclusive club. And if you just sell enough Avon, you will get your pink Cadillac, I promise you. And what we're dealing with now is generations of white folks that didn't get their pink Cadillac. And they don't really know what they're mad about, except the fact that the 1% used everybody. And that's Carla Stillwell's armchair history of how we got here. Dr. Chico.
Yeah, follow that, brother.
Man, she said everything so eloquently. I would just like to try to supplement some of the things she said. I think it's really about power and control. How we got here is through slavery. They brought us over. And if you think about power and control, even with the Emancipation Proclamation, nobody wants to render power or control freely. So what ended up happening was they guised or disguised ways to create a caste system that will allow them to stay in power and control that was not only based upon class, but race as well. We understand we live in a European patriarchal hierarchy system. Yeah, that's just the truth. And this hierarchical system, even if you think about wealth, some people can, African American or a Latinx individual can become wealthy, but we've even heard publicly people say, but they're not white. So there's still that class and race issue to maintain control of the country. Now, what we have seen is figureheads to keep the skies going. So yeah, they'll put a black face in front of the system, but the system hasn't changed. And how did we get here to this point is, I believe, I'm gonna say something controversial.
Please do.
Because I want to give people attention. We needed Trump. America needed Trump.
I don't
because
disagree.
Without Trump, we would have never identified and saw who we were. Obama gave us a false sense of equality and gave us a sense that racism was disappearing. What Trump did was brought to the forefront how vivid and ugly it really is. And he allowed people who were in hiding to come to the forefront, about at least 75 million people, to say, yeah, these are my true beliefs. So what it did is it allowed us to have a conversation about what's really going on in America. Because what had been going on, or what got us here, was a lot of times it was ignored, or even when individuals talked about systemic racism or institutional oppression or police violence, it was always one-offs. They tried to pretend it was one-offs, or pretend as though this person is exaggerating or like it doesn't exist. But the best policing I've saw in a long time was at the insurrection. I disagree with people when they say that was bad policing. No, African Americans live in a space where they're dominated by police and treated inhumanely. So when we saw somebody breaking the law but yet still being treated humanely, it blew our mind. We say that's wrong, but really that's the same way they should treat us and value life, even if we break in crime, if we're doing something that's considered criminal. Because
first somebody has to consider that. So first somebody has to consider you a human being.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So I mean, you know, we're having a conversation because I just want to, add a layer to what you said, Dr. Chico, about Obama giving us a false sense of security, because I absolutely agree with you. Donald Trump was necessary. It was that the insurrection was the last death rattle of racism. Like, there are some conversations you can never have with me again. You can't talk to me about Blue Lives Matter anymore. We can just start over now. There's a lot of conversations that these last 5 years have given us entree to actually have, but I'm going to push back. Obama did not give us a false sense of security and a false sense that that we were post-racial. It gave white people a false sense that we were post-racial and that the work was done. And that these people hanging his image and effigy were just crazies. And that's not who we are. That's not who we are. That's not who Americans are. So I think that it is absolutely true that something cataclysmic had to happen. George Floyd was cataclysmic. Yes. We had seen many things. We had seen this image many times. But the idea that we saw this man cross over, those of us who are of spiritual beliefs saw him see his mama and see the other side. That was cataclysmic. This QAnon thing, this had to happen so that the boil could burst. But the question that we have to ask our white brethren, the mayotocracy, if you will, is now this boil is busted, it's open. So are you going to put the peroxide on it and take the time and heal it and gather it and nurture and heal the wound? Or are you going to throw a Band-Aid on it and let it go all Henry VIII and fester?
The only reason why I said hope is because one thing about the culture of African Americans or Black people is we are hopeful despite how much despair we suffer.
We are the most patriotic people in the world. Look at who went to the polls.
When Obama got in, a lot of us thought like we finally gonna get our just due, and we wanted equity. Not a lot of people had this misconception that African Americans want favoritism. No, we just want equity. And I think I'm really afraid that the situation or the term with Trump was so bad that now we've become hopeful again and setting ourselves up for a big letdown because we right back in that cycle, because everybody is having euphoria right now. We got Trump out, we all came out, but I think the onus or the responsibility is on them to respond. And just looking at what he said he's going to do in the first 100 days, I don't see the practical steps or it being operationalized for him to respond in a way that'll begin to create an equitable space for African Americans.
I think it's two things. I think it's two things.
Speak.
I think that one of the conversations we need to start having with white people is a conversation that little Black children, mamas have with them all the time. Charity starts in home and spreads abroad. And yes, there needs to be demands. We voted these people in office. Now we need to stand on their necks and their backs and demand that they keep the promises, because we have not held feet to the fire as a community. So we have to own that. So now we really, really won y'all the whole executive branch. What you gonna do? We have to continue to be vocal. But the other part of that is white people have to understand that this unity that you wish, because you're uncomfortable now, and this unity that you seek cannot happen without equity. Without accountability. Somebody got to pay for what have happened on what are they calling it? The 3 Wednesdays? The historians have already dubbed this the 3 Wednesdays: the insurrection, the impeachment, and the inauguration. So because that's what happened years ago. There was never any accountability for the split of the union. So to move forward, our government has to hold the people responsible accountable, and then white people need to go home and hold their Meemaw accountable.
So that right there. So this is going back to what I was saying, that we got new stuff at the top, but we still have the same country. The 75 million that leaned that way are our friends, families, cousins, and folk we done cut off. And so there is a truth telling, I hear you say, and a reconciliation of what's happened up to now. Now that we got religion, now that we got hope, now that we've seen how ugly we really are we really willing to do the hard work of recovery? You know, you get a nasty wound from war, a car accident, or whatnot, or a stroke. Okay, you will survive, but will you heal? And if you do, it's gonna be hard on you to do that hard work of healing. Healing is not kumbaya, we all together now.
Exactly.
Healing is I want to do this work. It's hard, it hurt me. I got to give something up in order to do it.
Listen, there are metaphors throughout history for this moment. And I brought up Henry VIII because he is a metaphor. He was a man so stubborn, so narcissistic, and so egomaniacal, he fell and got a horrible wound, and out of vanity, never took the time to lay down and heal and treat it. And that is the wound that festered for years and years and tortured him until he died. He had everything. He had the crown. He could kill all the wives he wanted. He changed religions. He was so stuck in greed and medieval capitalism and war that he let his body eat itself. We have opened the wound. The question is, do we let the body eat itself? And who is responsible? How are we triangulating as a society? Who's playing what position to make sure we get the rest, we have the conversations, we get the history, and we get things cleaned up to where this could finally heal, and what those things are. And listening to the people that have been oppressed when they tell you what they need.
I want to say something too. Another thing that's been a blessing, even though it was catastrophic COVID was a blessing to me in a sense that it revealed all the money that we said we didn't have. It came out of nowhere, 4 trillion. Now, for the past 75 years, we've been asking for some form of reparations, not necessarily to become rich, but to rebuild our communities. And the country kept saying they don't have it. But COVID happens, and they come up with 4 trillion. The incoming president is about to do another 1.2 trillion. That's $6 trillion from nowhere. But to address the challenges in marginalized African-American communities throughout the United States, for the last 50 years, they kept saying they don't have the money. Even when thinking about addressing some of the determinants of health that we go through, they're often offering $50 to $100 billion. But when it comes to a pandemic or illness or disease that's impacting whites, we come up with insurmountable amounts of money that we never thought we had.
The printer is on. We're printing it. We're just printing it.
Listen, they spent $1.5 million cleaning the COVID out the White House.
So my question is, I think over the last 25 to 50 years, we've had some of the most brilliant scholars. So we spend too much time talking about what the solution is, because everybody knows. If you ask anybody that's a scholar, anybody really just a resident, what's the problems in the African American community and how do we solve them? They could tell you just like that. So now it's not about talking about the problem, it's seeing as these institutions and agencies and government going to do something about it. Plain and simple.
Yeah, join the conversation, Anthony. That's right on, Dr. Chico.
Well, I mean, about 15 minutes ago, I swear Carla was baiting me to speak on behalf of white people. So, you know, I can't deny it.
What, you white?
No.
Yes, I am.
Oh my God, the revelations.
And never before in the history of this country have so many white people seen and understood a cycle of systemic racism. You know, I think that we have an opportunity here for the next 100 days to get white people to really look in the mirror and mobilize, you know, do more than you did. And just whatever you do, as long as you're moving in the right direction, progress is progress. We need the people in the middle, good people who have been addicted to white supremacy and the power, privilege, and influence that comes with it. The ones that are still holding on to the bottle, we need to take the bottle away from them and say, you know, you got a problem. And it hurts, it sucks, it's not fun getting sober, you know, you go through some lows, but you get on the other side of it and you can see more clearly. And as we've been talking about, the fear of white people losing power is irrational. It hurts them that everybody is not doing better. It hurts us that all Chicago schools don't have great budgets with teachers and computers. It hurts us that we don't have great produce everywhere in the city. I mean, it doesn't help Chicago to be split up like this. It's a genocide in 60% of the city. And every now and then it washes up on Michigan Avenue and it washes up at Taste of Chicago. Well, we all know it's there now and we know it's by design. And you're right, COVID showed us that we have the money if we prioritize reparations and Native American communities. We spent $4 trillion, but we took $14 million away from a budget for therapy for the 565 Latino immigrants who were separated from their parents, and we cannot find their parents. That's how you make terrorists. That's how that's you're incubating hate. It's sad, but I think never before have more white people seen the American sin and our complicity with it. So, you know, and the best way we can convince people is by our actions, you know. So if you're a white person, you go talk to other people, sure, but go do something on a regular basis. Pick one thing that you're going to do and do it for the rest of your life. If you like children, and help a school. If you like theater, help an arts organization. If you're in the city of Chicago, and what are we going to do, Chicago? The focus is great. We've been on the country. Let's bring it back home, because we got the biggest problems of every city in the Midwest. And I think the country goes with us. I'd love to hear what Carla and Chico think about our city now. Let's bring it back home, because it's effed up here. And we got a lot of work to do.
I want to add one thing, since you said nationally. For the first time, I think there was a white awakening, because we got to see white supremacists turn on white people.
It was white on white crime.
They was walking to the Capitol talking about killing Pence and killing the speaker. So I think that if that wasn't a wake-up call, then nothing is.
I hear Sean Wallace is here. Is that right?
Oh my goodness! Hey, Wallace.
Yeah. Let's bring him up if he wants to come up, because he's been talking in my ear. I hear the music.
I would love to have Sean Wallace up here.
The music. Yeah.
But you know, so and we can't let this moment slip. You know, it's great to have that great day yesterday, but you know, I was there. I was a good white guy. I was the best white guy. I did nothing. I did not. I mean,
but I think the call to action for white people to white people is misplaced. I think that what we are not understanding is the communities of color, Black community, which I am a part of, so I will speak for, needs resources and needs white people to go away. Reallocate those funds you stole, give them to the Black and brown institutions and go away. And then go do your work with your people and your Mima. Because I think the cognitive dissonance for white people is, but these people, everybody at the Capitol was not a bad person. They weren't all bad people. There's this feeling situation going on about, and perceptive. But what I think has to click for white people is, if your sister-in-law is a one-issue voter and she's voting for abortion, right? Like, I'm pro-life, and that's it. So I'm voting for Trump. This is an amoral person who has put an ideology over humanity. Because to be a one-issue voter in that way means you ignored that the woman that was just murdered by the mentally ill woman in Texas who was just killed, executed. You're ignoring the life of all the people in prison. You're ignoring the life of those children at the border. You're ignoring those lives. So somebody that thinks like that, I don't care how many days they go to church, they're not a Christian. And I think that's what white people need to reconcile with. White people need to part with resources and reconcile that they are resources that have been stolen and you need to give them back. And B, go do the work with your family, because your pawpaw that took you fishing that says, the tax breaks for me. He's greedy. He's not a good person. He's not walking with the Lord in any way. And you have to reconcile with, just because they wiped your ass and wiped your nose and took care of you and bathed you. I know that they took care of you, but they are doing things that damage the rest of the world. And that damages you. So go clean up your house.
We have to do that. We have to do that. We have to do more than that. That's not enough. We have to get the moderates too. The people that agree with us but do nothing, that have money, resources, and power, and watch from the sidelines on the front row and listen to the music and are all over social media. Sean Wallace is here. Hey, Sean, happy new year. It's a new year.
New era, yeah.
It's a era. Good to see you. What says you? Where you at?
I'm so glad I got the email, and excuse me, and I remembered to join in, because I've been getting emails, and then I spoke with Carla the other day, and she told me something. I'm like, oh man, I decided tonight. Let me make sure I try to get on, even though I'm scruffy, The thing I think that we need to remember is we need to dismantle white so-called supremacy in our consciousness. There's no equivalent concept with any other word that we use to describe a racial color. We never talk about Black supremacy, brown supremacy, yellow supremacy, red supremacy. And so white supremacy as a concept is unique. And because of that, it's actually part of the warfare. When we put those two words together, our subconscious just sees white supremacy. So then we begin to prove it in our life, world, and affairs. We begin to prove it. We begin to take action. It must be true.
True like Trump.
It must be
like
true.
The big lie. You're right.
Yeah, that is the beginning of the big lie. That it actually that it actually exists, that it is attainable and sustainable. And so if we can do political things, and we can do, we can do things that maybe can help some people and this, that, and the other. But if we don't get it at its root and how it works on our level of consciousness, it will come back. It will come back. Because how many times
again, it's still here. That's what I'm here to. It's still here. It will come
Hasn't
back.
gone anywhere.
It hasn't gone anywhere.
Isn't, I'm going to say something that might be ignorant. Isn't it in a way a relic of Darwinism and survival of the fittest?
No, because I'm sorry if I can jump in on
Yeah.
We're gonna go to a close here in about
what white people trying to keep everything that all the power they can because they think if they share it they'll die.
Well,
that's psychosis. That's group psychosis. That is not Darwinism. That's not science. It's a whole other thing going on. But Sean, I'll let you finish up, and I'd love to have Carla, sum up a statement. And I'd love to have Dr. Tillmon sum up a statement and give the and then Anthony, you round us out, and then I'll take us home.
It's based on fear. It's not necessarily based on something that's quote unquote real. It is based on violence. That's the thing. That is the engine of this whole thing. Violence. White people have warred against each other before, and then gone around the world and warred against other people, and maybe still have not, maybe culturally or in the belief system and the consciousness, saying that, wait a minute, that's probably not going to work because we're still the minority in the world. And we don't run the whole world. And even now, this fear that there's going to be a loss of power, well, okay, you get what you fear.
Said the rabbit to the eagle.
So you're going to get it anyway, so you better let it go. And just live in brotherhood and sisterhood with everybody else, because that's really what we all want. And I'm done.
Amazing and talented Sean Wallace, musician, composer. Let's see those magic fingers. Oh, there they are. There they are.
So I will end with this. Racism is not an American problem. It's a white people problem. The rest of us don't have a problem with racism. It is impossible for my Black ass to be racist because I don't have power and there's no collective power in my community. I cannot oppress anyone with my sheer will. So until white people accept that this is the bed that your ancestors made, that we are all living in, until white people accept that racism is a Ponzi scheme, it is a pyramid scheme concocted by the 1% to keep their money and to sow division, and that you fell for the okie doke, and so did your grandmama, your great grandmama, your great grandmama, because you're never gonna get there. Most of us won't. Until that happens, and until white people take accountability for their actions, we're gonna be right back here in another. It won't even take 100 years this time.
100 days?
Maybe.
Dr. Tillmon.
I think I want to kind of like pivot a little bit and talk about something different. I think this whole combination of events taught us something. We saw a lot. We could continue to talk about the negative things we've seen, but one thing I seen that was beautiful was the power of Black unity. We saw that in Georgia. We saw that in other states. We saw when we corral and unify behind a cause, we can move mountains and do things unimaginable. When we think about Tulsa, Oklahoma, and how when we work together, as you talked about early, collaboratively, we saw something beautiful with Black Wall Street. I think we should take that same energy in raising up, as you said, with the youth, candidates that would represent us and lift up our voice, instead of looking outside of ourselves for an answer that lies within our communities. So I think the first thing we need to galvanize and stop fighting against each other. We got to look for support amongst each other. We got to start reaching out to each other to help us begin to rise, and then we can begin to combat them other external issues. As long as I'm sick internally, I can't fight nobody externally. If you got the flu, I don't care how great you can fight. If you sick, you can't fight nobody. You can't not fight physically, but you can't even oppose anybody. But if once you get well, then you can. So I think we need to work on some internal things. We need to have some good positive takeaways, and we need to galvanize and put our best people forward. And as you spoke about, the youth to represent us and move the country forward, instead of allowing them to pick people who are figureheads for us to say, hey, you got the first this or you got the first that, y'all doing good now. No, we want somebody that has the heart of the people and is gonna advocate for the people and what the people need. So I think let's take some of the momentum that we see, that we can do great things if we work together, and move forward in that way.
Beautiful. I appreciate that. I'm gonna come back to that comment, Doctor. Anthony, thank you so much for how you spoke so elegantly about the role and position of white leadership and white power, privilege, and influence on this matter. And thank you, Carla, for pushing that envelope and really speaking to his heart. So I'm not gonna pass the mic to Anthony and let you bring it home, man.
Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't say I cannot wait to read the new draft of Red Island that Carla Stillwell is working on right now. If the history books could write themselves, they would be coming through the pen in the hand of Carla Stillwell. And, the timing of this collaboration is as we like to say, synchro destiny. I pray that the city of Chicago, as the pendulum swings back, will be in front of the movement. I pray that the good white people of Chicago will look in the mirror and say, I have not done enough. I have not committed enough time, money, or connection to changing the inequity in our city. And I believe technology is a game changer, and it's accelerating every day, which means we don't really know what's possible tomorrow. And at the end of the day, I believe we are not yet a civilized people, but I believe we are beautiful, loving people who are, and I'm talking about all of us now. There's a lot of fucked up people, and God bless them. I'm not going to worry about them more than give them a little bit of energy. But I think if a lot of us in the middle move and lean into it, we'll find great benefits. And I hope we're beyond the era of materialism and money and BS. If this pandemic could do one thing, it could remind us how fragile and precious and unbelievably special the gift of life is, and that, it's going to be gone before we know it. So let's move things forward and use this momentum right now more than ever. And I'm just so grateful that you all would have me in your dialogue, and I'm going to keep on doing my role, and I know I can do more, and I know I can do better.
Awesome. Well, I want to say my piece here real quickly as we acknowledge our guests and our sponsors and all those great people who have made this possible, and all the folks who are here watching us around the world and around the country here in my neighborhood in Inglewood. You're right, Anthony. We're more likely feral than civilized, but even a feral animal knows love, and the wolf knows loyalty, and even the antelope and horse know to only take what we need and leave the rest for another season. We can become as we once were. And then Dr. Tillmon, I really appreciate you pointing to another important conversation that I intend to have sometime soon. I'll invite you back. This business about what we must do intra-group. We got work to do. I got kids I've been raised, they're 30-something, they don't know half of what's going on. You know what I'm saying? I got grandkids and grandbabies. I got to clean my house and my neighborhood and my church and my friends that I roll with and my musicians that I play with. You know, it's all of that. We all got work we got to do. So thank you for pointing that out. Because if we do it, if it's going to be, it's up to thee, you and me, right? There you go. And Carla, you know, one thing I love about your humor and your powerful intellect is that you're able to see the irony and stuff and make us laugh so that we can shake the pain and get to frickin' work. You know,
because it's ridiculous. Like literally, they were scaling the building. Yeah. I could do nothing but laugh. Like it's ridiculous.
No, so I would like a redo on that because I would like to scale the wall and have some cinematographer catch it from the bottom as I try to flip over the top. That would be comedic.
Oh wow! Oh wow!
But ultimately, and Sean, thank you so much for stepping up out of the audience to just lend your voice to the thing. No, we know each other and we care for each other, and so it's friendly enough. I know it's for you to do that, but it takes a strong human being to really be able to speak their truth, not knowing who's going to see this and when it's going to see this. And your truth is sacred to me. What you say means something to me. It matters to me. It comes out of the black. You know what I'm saying? It comes out of the black. And not out of the blue, out of the black. I mean, I want you to hear that, hear that as many different ways as you can. And then finally, to all of our friends and family out there, I just want to remind us that we don't need leaders at the top of the pyramid to do this. We're the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change we seek, and this old man in the movement, I'm gonna keep using my sword, cutting what I can do, but I'm standing aside so that your generations and the generations behind us, like Amanda Gorson, so that they can just speak truth that allows us to live into a vision of an egalitarian, equitable world that works for you, for me, and for everybody else. And I don't mind a good, healthy competition, but I love a vigorous cooperation. I love a vigorous cooperation to come together as a people, and then as a groups of people, then as a nation, even a city, Chicago. Listen, if we could do it in Chicago, we would be the shining city on the hill that lights the way for the rest of the world who are in utter darkness about this white supremacy stuff. And with that, I'm going to say, God bless each and every one of you. Your family, stay safe. Don't be breathing in anybody's COVID. If you're eligible to get a shot, get one. And even when you do, and even if you don't, wear your mask, keep your distance, don't feed or pet the humans, and wash your dang gone hands. Now I'm telling you, that is the way forward while we do this hard work. And so I just want to say thank you to Dr. Chico, and thank you to my dear friend Carla Stillwell. Thank you all for joining us tonight. We invite you to join us on Becoming Unlearning White Supremacy. Hey, we're doing some of that tonight, which is our monthly workshop that happens on the first Tuesday of each month. Please come back. It's free, and it's open to everyone seeking to get their arms wrapped around this amazing body of work. Go to collaboration.org to find more information and how to register today. Thank you so very much.
And you can join the Becoming Unlearning White Supremacy Facebook group, which has got a great way to keep the dialogue going. Marcus, I have a question for you. What's the history of Black History Month? Why February? What are your thoughts on that?
So I wish I were prepared with a with a glib answer to speak to that. But let me call it out. Let me call it out this way. Because you know what happens in February. You know, in the long history of being human, is February is about the time when the harvest stores start to look a little short. You know, back in the day before we had refrigeration and all this kind of stuff, I'm talking about the many, many tens of thousands of years of being human, we'd run short come February. Couldn't wait for the January thaw so that we could go out and get something fresh because we just tired of eating that which has been salted away and hidden away in the whole of our earth. So this is a time to get out those loaves and fishes. I heard a story about a man who pulled together a whole bunch of people. And they all follow him around. You know, he don't know. They just like being around me. I'm like Jay-Z. I'm popular like that. Except he wasn't Jay-Z. He was JC. And folks was hungry, needing a good word. He gave them a good word. Be this, be that, be attitudes. Get your attitude together, get your mind right, because we got work to do. But at the end of the day, he looked around to the youngest in the crowd and asked them to reach in his little satchel and pull out whatever he brought for him. Hey, poor little boy, what he got for lunch? 2 crackers and a couple sardines. And with that bread and those fishes, he fed a multitude. And my friend David White wrote a poem about that, and he says, "This ain't the age of information. This ain't the age of information. This the age of fishes and loaves. And one good word like we had tonight is bread to 1,000."
Black History Month was created in 1926 when historian Carter G. Woodson and the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History announced the second week of February to be Negro History Week. And that is because Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass were both born that week. And eventually, every president since 1976 has designated the month of February as Black History Month. Well, I think it should be Black History Year. And we will see y'all in February. Our next show here at Crucial Connections will be on the 3rd Thursday of February, February 18th. And we're going to explore our new Family Tree Stories mixed media project that shares Chicagoan stories of their family lineage and how their family journeys have been impacted by oppression. And we remind you for our currently open call for submissions for the Light, a youth theater and video festival, Peace Book, a festival about peace, and Encounter Englewood. And you can go to collaboration.org to learn more about those projects and submit. And maybe that's how we got Vernon Gooden's Brother Blackbird, was a blind submission. Beautiful piece.
Thanks again to all of our guests, Carla, Dr. Tillmon, and our sponsors, AV Chicago, and all the beautiful people that have supported us along the way. If you want to see more programming like this, please consider a donation of any amount at collaboration.org or become a monthly contributor for as little as $5. We'd love
That's our show. Thank you for joining us on Crucial Connections. We are hyper local, but we're thinking global. And if you think of someone that might need your support right now, do us a favor and grab your phone and give them a call. And if they don't answer your call, find a way to show up in their life. This pandemic has really stretched us all thin. I know in Chicago, we don't have much sun right now. It's in the theater industry. We are not working much. Or if we are, we're looking at a Zoom. So we created a PSA called Call Time. We're going to run one of those spots after our credits to raise mental illness resources and awareness for Chicago theater workers. I want to give a special thanks to Sarah and Emmy and Nikolai for sticking it out here to this end of the show. We went a little over, but this show is going to hold up real good in the future. In about 10 years, you're probably going to show this show to your family. You're going to say, here's the show we did on right after the inauguration, where Anthony went on and on and on about watching the show in the future. So hello to you in the future. We love you. We're doing our best. We hope you're doing well there in the future. And we will see you in the future, soon to be past. Thank you, everybody. Good night, Marcus. I love you. I'll see you tomorrow.
Love you too, brother. Y'all take care.
It's call time for theater workers who need support with mental wellness.
Half hour.
Thank you, half hour.
15 to places.
Thank you, 15.
5.
Thank you, 5.
Places.
Thank you, places.
Hi, I'm calling about a friend who might be suffering from depression. I heard you had virtual support groups.
Hi, I'm calling to learn more about the financial support for therapy sessions. I've been thinking about starting therapy.
Hey friend, I've been thinking about you. How you doing?
These are difficult times. Theater workers are feeling the effects of losing their livelihood, effects like depression, anxiety, and mental illness. Join Call Time. Pick up the phone and call someone you care about. Or call the National Alliance on Mental Illness Chicago's free and confidential helpline, 833-626-4244. You'll find a listening ear and connections to mental health and community resources for yourself, advice on how to support friends or family, and the new NAMI Chicago virtual support group. And Season of Concern can help cover the costs of therapy sessions for Chicago theater artists through its Biscotto Miller Fund. Share these call time resources to aid theater workers and destigmatize depression, anxiety, and mental illness.